Hi guys, welcome back to the Sonic Oasis. So if you're new here, my name is Mvondo and I usually do sound demos and preset playthroughs for plugin instruments. And this is actually my first video where I won't be doing any of that. I'll just be sitting down and just talking, going through some of my thoughts. So, Arturia recently launched a keyboard named AstroLab. And at this point, almost every synthfluencer has either received one or made a video on one. So if you have never heard of this, you are clearly on the wrong side of YouTube. But for those of you who don't know what the AstroLab is, basically Arturia took their whole V collection, or maybe the Analog Lab collection, which is a condensed version of the V collection, if that makes any sense. But anyway, Arturia took the entire catalog of the Analog Labs software and crammed it into one keyboard where you can access all your presets, all your sounds, and you can even create your presets in V collection and then transport them into your AstroLab keyboard. So it's basically the hardwareification of Arturia's entire software catalog. And this actually got me thinking, is this the future of synthesizers or hardware in general? Is turning plugins into hardware the future of the industry? Okay, now hear me out. I know some of y'all are confused right now, but just hear me out. So just imagine, right? A company like Spectrasonics, they make some of the best plugin instruments out there. If you're a performing musician, Omnisphere, Trillion, Keyscape, those are like basically all you need to perform an entire gig, right? And those sounds are more than enough for your performing needs. And the problem with that is, if you're gonna use the software, the only way you can use it right now is through a laptop or a computer. So if you're performing out there in the wild and traveling around, touring in a band or whatever it is that you do, and you want to use these Spectrasonic instruments, you need to carry around a laptop, an audio interface, a MIDI controller, and all the cables that connect all these devices so they can talk together, and the power cables that go with it. Not forgetting the prayers, just so the laptop functions properly and has no glitches on stage. And I think it's such a shame that the only way to use Spectrasonic instruments is also one of the most unreliable ways, unironically, which is a laptop and all these other devices that you have to bring with you, and so many things can go wrong, unfortunately. But what if Spectrasonics made a hardware instrument that runs Omnisphere, Trillion, and Keyscape? Something very similar to what Arturia did with the AstroLab, but just one highly optimized piece of hardware just made to perform. Or what if we had a synthesizer that was made by Yuhi and it came already loaded with plugins such as Zebra, Hive, and Diva, and it's just sitting there ready for you to perform. No MIDI cables, no laptop, no MIDI controllers. And that's the question that I want to pose today. Like, would that be the right direction for the industry to take? Would that solve some of the problems that live performing musicians have, where you create sounds in your studio and it's not always easy to recreate those sounds that you used in a studio session onto a workstation that you already own, such as like a Yamaha Montage or Roland Phantom? And I would really love to hear what are your opinions when it comes to this, because let's face it, when it comes to the world of workstations and performance keyboards, it's been very, very stagnant. I mean, some of your major keyboard manufacturers have just been recreating synthesizers from the 80s or early 90s. If they're not recreating exactly those old synthesizers, then they are just trying to relive those moments by creating something very similar to that, or something that emulates synthesizers from the 80s. And that's been going on for the past, 10 years now. And you don't really see new innovation, but what we just see is remakes and recreations of things that we've seen in the past. And in the software world, that hasn't been the case. Like, there's been a lot of innovation, a lot of experimentation, and I wish we can take some of that innovation and experimentation from the software world and just plug it into the hardware world. Another thought that I had is, wouldn't it be cool if we had a standard? Just like how we have VST, clap, audio units, but if we had a standard that was compatible with software and with hardware, so you could just take your plugins that are compatible with that standard and you'll be able to just put them into your hardware workstations or synthesizers, and they would be compatible vice versa, both directions. And I think we are actually very, very close to having something like that. A good example of that would be the NKS format that is made by Native Instruments. So if you've seen the launch of the S Mark III keyboards, MIDI controllers, you'll see that they support the NKS format, and you can basically take plugins and use them on your MIDI controller with no problems. Like, every dial is already mapped, every knob is already mapped, and you can see everything on the screen. And I think the only thing that we need from that keyboard now is if Native Instruments put a computer in there, put some audio outputs in there, and basically make that keyboard standalone. I think that would be one of the best decisions they can make, because not only will you be able to run plugins in standalone, but also you can use it as a MIDI controller in your studio. So when you're done making your beats or whatever, you can just take the same keyboard and use it as a standalone instrument. And this is nothing new, by the way. Like, we've seen this, we've seen hardware run standalone instruments. Like, you see on the machine, like the machine can run FM8 on standalone and a few other plugins. Although right now it is still in a limited form, but my point is it's possible. So if Native Instruments can put some computer power into the S Mark III controllers so that you can run those plugins standalone, I think it would be a really, really awesome idea. And also, the nice thing about the NKS format is it's already been adopted by a lot of other third parties. So it's not just Native Instruments plugins that are using it, but a whole lot of other third-party plugins are already using it. So I think that would be the best format to adopt and just make everything talk with everything. And another thing that's interesting to me is that for the past, 15 years or so, we've been seeing a very aggressive pluginification movement. Yeah, I know, I just made up that word right now. But what I mean by that is that we've been seeing a lot of old instruments being turned into plugins, and everyone has been trying to recreate instruments of the past, almost to a point where you can't tell the difference between the real thing and the software. I think it's time now to see the hardwareification movement, if that's a thing, where plugins that are innovative become hardware instruments. But anyway, I don't know. These are just my thoughts. These are just some of the things that run through my mind in the middle of nowhere during the day. And I'd really like to hear, what do you think would be the best move for the industry? Is what Arturia did with the AstroLab something that sparks your interest? Is it something that you'd like to see more of being done by other software manufacturers? Or is it just all hype right now and it's a dying movement and nothing really will become of it in the future? But yeah, I'd really like to hear your thoughts in the comments. Thank you so much for staying this long and listening to me ramble my way through this video. And if you enjoy content like this, please make sure that you do subscribe and you like and you comment. A huge shout out to our Patreon community. You guys really help support this channel. And until the next one, I will see you later.